So at this point, we're gonna go around the table. We're gonna look, get through this really quick, and then I gotta get back inside and finish getting these tickets for the Razorback. So we're gonna start. We usually start this way, but we're gonna start counterclockwise today. Starting with Commissioner Edera, and he's gonna tell us about the Memorial Field also. That's about to be complete. We're 80% done with the stuff that's coming out of there. By the end of this week, the whole mound and dirt should be gone. So it's looking really good. So I'm not gonna give the update, even though I go down there every single day, twice a day.
Actually,
Yeah. So I'm gonna leave it to you. There you go.
all right, I don't need Mike.
No, Mike?
No Mike. Memorial Field, as the mayor said, we're about 80% complete. We're also in, we're about maybe 2,500 tons. So we're pretty close, we're getting close to the 30,000 tons. We may go over a little bit, we may have to look for a change order to the contract, but Tully's making significant progress, and if anybody's been down there, the mound is already up to and past, actually, where the tennis courts were on top of it. So they're scraping the top of those tennis courts off. They're gonna take the other part out. The part that's in question is the DEC wants us to remediate underneath the Keela tennis courts, the first several feet of that where the mound or the contaminated material extends, according to them. There's some question about whether or not they're gonna need that space with the county's plans for the 8-lane track. So if they do need that space, the DEC wants us to remediate underneath those courts. If not, we can leave it, but that's a question that's gonna be coming up in the next couple of weeks, because we anticipating finishing this thing before.
Right. Okay. And also, with the DEC, we'll talk about that offline.
Okay.
Those tennis courts was built long before all of that dumping even ever happened.
Well, no, we can
So
leave
we're
it.
gonna have to deal with that. So don't worry about that part. We'll deal with
It's
that.
Pollock, I know, and he makes up his own things as he goes along.
Yeah, but we're not gonna allow people to make up their own things. You
Yeah.
know, we're gonna deal with reality.
That's Memorial Field's going very well. Haven't had any real incidents or any problems with it, so I'm happy with the progress at Memorial Field. Other things going on, we paved Gramerton Avenue from Devonia all the way to Bronxville. Curb to curb, got it paved, made Con Ed pay to do it, which was good, by getting creative with what we asked Con Ed to do in lieu of other things within our agreements with them. I may be able to do the same on parts of not only Lincoln Avenue, but also McQuestion Parkway. There are a number of other places where they've done work where they dug a trench, and rather than replace the entire concrete slab, what I'm asking them to do is dowel in a new concrete poured slab within the existing slab and mill and pave the road curb to curb, so we get a whole new road instead of half a new road. So we're working on that with Con Edison, and I'll continue to work on those things with Con Edison as time goes on. Snow prep, we've got 8 plows available right now. We expect to have 10 within the week or two. We've been holding off putting the salters on a couple of the trucks because we're using them for leaf removal still and yard waste, et cetera, et cetera. So we anticipate, and we've gone through the trucks. We're in better shape than we were last year, which isn't to say that we're in good shape, because we have 10 routes, we have 10 trucks. If we have a heavy snowfall and a truck goes down, we're already behind the 8 ball. And these are not new trucks. These are 20-year-old plow trucks, which are way, way past their useful service life, and we've been upgrading and rebuilding and repairing and patching up. But as anybody knows, if you got an old car and it's got 200,000 miles on it and you didn't treat it good for 20 years, it's not going to be reliable. So we all know what situation we're in, but we think we're pretty much ready.
Do we get money as for antiques?
We might, yeah, we'll
The
get
truck
money.
show?
We'll get money for them if we take them to Brookfield. That's
We're
it.
gonna have to do something, shine them up.
Take your scrap to pass gas. But also, salt shed, as you know, we don't have a salt shed. We've been taking plans to fabricate one ourselves, being creative, using shipping containers. We've purchased an arch roof floor to put over it. We'll finally have a full salt shed once we put that roof on. So DPW will be working to assemble that roof and pick it and put it in place with our bucket cranes, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, depending on the weather. But it's something we can't do on a windy day. It has to be a clear, calm day to do it, and we've got our backs against weather right now trying to get that done.
I got a question. As councilman, we approved the money for the salt shed. We gave you money to do what happened?
What happened was, Madam Controller never honored
Never
the
mind, never mind.
legislation, and we had to do it on our own. But-
Commissioner of Police. Commissioner of Police.
Good morning. Before I begin, I just wanted to just ask you to make sure that Con Ed does the pavement markings after they finish.
They're done.
No, I'm talking about on all the projects when they do the
Yeah,
pavement, all right?
Yeah.
Do the pavement
yeah,
markings.
they did Gramerton already, and they used thermoplast. We got the goods.
Good.
There you go.
So, basically, we're still maintaining over 35% reduction in crime over the past 2 years. Unfortunately, due to the lack of labor counsel over the past year, we've had some issues that we're catching up on. Personnel as far as members that are out on long-term injuries. We have 16 members out on long-term injuries. So we're dealing with that now. Council just came back on board, so we're vigorously addressing that issue. We have police candidate interviews next week. And hopefully we could put 10 in the academy in January. We have the police academy graduation this Friday, the 13th. And they'll be out to walking posts in several areas of the city, mainly the business district. And they'll be down like in the Target, Best Buy area for traffic control during the holiday season. So you'll see an increased presence. Tomorrow is the graduation for the Citizens Police Academy. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. And that was a good 13 weeks. We had a lot of good people in the class this time. Unlike the previous classes, this one is close to the holidays. So I know everybody has holiday parties and things like that to attend to. But I try to ask that you fit this event into your schedule and support the citizens that have participated in this course. Besides that, we have a toy giveaway with Target this week, where several of our officers get partnered with some youth from the Youth Bureau, and they go shopping at Target. And I'll be participating in that also. So if anyone wants to donate their time to host a child or escort a child around, what you do is you basically walk around Target with them while they're doing their Christmas shopping. And they get, I believe it was a $50 gift card. Mm-hmm. And you help them pick out their gifts. And then you take them to the cashier, they pay for it there. So, and besides the Razorbacks, we had a good event with them the other day. Well, not with them, the Chamber of Commerce, where some coaches, Coach Mack, spoke at the event, and they were very excited about their accomplishments. So for all of us, but not much else from the PD right now besides different investigations with our joint partners, our federal partners, and our district attorney's office. Nothing else publicly. There's not too much that I could put out. Thank you, man.
Okay, thank you. And also, just to expand on that piece, because a lot of people don't realize how critical the people that are out in the legal counsel is to get these people back to work. So I'd also like to thank Gary for helping to move that money around to identify that, and you as well with Commissioner deal, to put that money together, because what people don't realize is that we had no legal counsel because they haven't been paid for a year and a half. So there are over a dozen police officers not coming to work, and they don't have to because there's no legal counsel to deal with their case or their hearing, so they get to stay out as long as they want. They've been out a year and a half, maybe about 16, 17 of them.
16.
Right, and you have firefighters that are sitting home too, getting paid on the city for a year and a half and don't have to come in either, which has been costing us about $3 million a year, close to. So by putting that money together and finding the money in the budget, reallocating the budget, we were able to pay legal counsel so that they can get back on the track and to get these people in for a hearing and get these people back to work. So now we would have more officers back to work and more firefighters back to work. So that's a great thing that we were able to pull together, because I believe if you're getting paid, you got to work. So,
And it's important that people don't realize how important it is to have the personnel, because there's some state law changes coming January 1st regarding bail reform and also discovery, and that requires more personnel. These, similar to the school district where the state put these mandates on you, but they don't give you the funds or the personnel. So that's what we're dealing with. That's why it's important to get these people back to work, even if they came like in a light duty status where they can do clerical duties. And also right now, we're having a meeting across the street with our Motorola, a follow-up kickoff meeting regarding our radio system upgrade. So we're on that, and also on the technology side of the RMS, record management system, and the computer-aided dispatch system. So all that stuff is still moving, and those are critical components to efficient operations of the police department. And through this whole ordeal, besides the fiscal aspects that we've been dealing with, Gary has been a strong partner with helping us achieve some of these goals. And last but not least, from our visit to Samsung, we are expecting delivery this week of some items from Samsung, because we're looking to use our training classroom as to host training to get some revenue in through the police department, but we have to upgrade our facilities over there and make it a conducive training environment for outside agencies to come in and have training. So that's coming in this week, and that's going to be installed, and hopefully we'll be ready for the beginning of the new year to start hosting training.
all right, thank you.
I'm all for community policing. Like it, learned a lot in the last class previously. You said this class is the best. I tested that. No. My class was the best because I was in there before myself. So yeah, I just had to put that out there. But community policing is an awesome thing. Today is World AIDS Day. My CAP program and my Mount Vernon CTC program joined force together and bringing awareness of AIDS. Usually it is celebrated on December 1st, but we had to postpone it because December 2nd was that snowstorm, which really wasn't, but we had to postpone it. It will be held today at the Armory. Kudos to Recreation, thanks for lending the space, from 3 to 5:30. Mayor, you should be there, right? Yeah. And so this Friday, we'll end the 6 weeks for our youth working. Yeah. not the older one. You have those to the 31st, but my 40 kids that's in high school, middle school, they come to the end for their 6-week work experience this Friday. And so feel free, if anyone have those kids, to throw them a little something so let them know they're appreciated. Working with Gary, along with Google, to have 20 to 25 kids do a site visit. That trip is planned for January 3rd. We wanted to do it this month, but given that it's the holiday and weeks are going by really fast, we were unable to do so. So January 3rd, we will take 20 to 25 kids to Google, and it's something that we plan on keep on building. So these kids that's going will have exposure to the STEM field. Pre-Kwanzaa is scheduled to have a fun time. That will be held at Allen Memorial Church, and that is on December 12th. You will have the agenda real soon, it may email to you, so that's pretty much it for the Youth Bureau. We have 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, there's a lot of things going on, and we're good.
All right, thank you.
So, veterans, the biggest thing, the most visible thing, I guess, is the memorial room. We're working on that. I'm grateful to Recreation, Water, and the assessor who are helping to purchase some of the things, and DPW who's finally prioritized the painting, so we're moving along. It's a big deal because just like Debbie said, I'm working with Gary on getting Google to come in and do a training class for the youth once it's all finished. So we hope to have that completed probably in the next 2 weeks. The only thing we're worried about is the flooring. The check request was submitted in August. It still has not been paid, and the vendor doesn't want to provide the flooring until they get a check in advance, given the payment issue. So I'm searching for either resolution to that or another vendor for the flooring. But it will be reopened. Going to our mothers, the contract is going to be submitted today for review. We have the $50,000 that we got that Assemblyman Pueblo had announced at the Veterans Day, so we have that. It just needs to be reviewed so it can be executed by the law department. And then that will be unveiled, completely finished in May. Fire department, we're working with OJT to work. So the on-the-job training lets our veterans that join the fire department get paid in addition to their salary from the city. So it's an additional stipend of anywhere from $3,700 to $4,200 a month. The police department, Commissioner Harris and I did that a few years ago, so they're already eligible. And now the fire department will be eligible. We just had to work out the hours because the hours are irregular. Some of the hours that they're spent because of the shifts is sleeping, but they issue. So once we get that done, that's a good recruiting point that we can recruit more vets to be on it, because in addition to their salaries, again, they get an extra like $4,000 a month tax-free from the federal government. What else? Establishing a nonprofit for vets. That's I was working with Recreation on, because they have one to accept $5,000 that we got from Senator Bailey to allow us to do more with the vets. And then working with the assessors on the exemption for the school taxes for the property portion, for the property taxes. The city and the county already accepted the legislation and passed it so that vets can get exemptions on their property taxes. We're trying to let the school pass it too, since that's 62% of the taxes. It'll make a big difference to our vets, which are part of an aging population. And then lastly, of course, staffing is still an issue. We do have an older youth worker, but it doesn't meet the needs of the department. We still need a permanent full-time assistant in order to keep the office open and running and keep our vets with the information they need. And then the last thing is the Memorial Field. So a lot of people forget that Memorial Field is Veterans Memorial Field. It was dedicated to veterans in 1931. So I just want to make sure that when we rededicate the field, that everybody remembers that it's Veterans Memorial Field, and then we have the veterans of all wars. And that's it.
And I just wanted to add to yours, just wanted to put out that the post commander for 6396, Eugene Bryant, passed away last week. And we went by there, I went by the funeral the other night because the information was put out last minute. So just wanted to just acknowledge Gene Bryant from post 6396.
So we've been working very closely with HUD, and in order to make sure we met the timeliness test, which we did, with the purchase of the fire trucks, we were able to spend CDBG monies from 2016, 17, and 18 in the amount of $1.6 million. And now we also have monies from 2014 and 15 and partial 2016 for the renovation of playgrounds. So we're going to be working very closely with Recreation and the city legal department to make sure we have those contracts executed so we can move forward with the renovation of playgrounds. We have also need to talk about the 2019 funds for public infrastructure projects, because we need to start doing that soon, so that we are ahead of the game in terms of how much monies we have at the end of the year, since we were awarded our 2019 funds. We're also looking to release the 2020 public services application, and so that'll be coming out in the next week. And we are going to also put out for public comment the consolidated plan, and so that'll be coming up fairly soon, and that'll be a 30-day public comment period as well. So we're pretty busy, and lots going on. So we're really excited of where we are right now, and we continue to work very closely with HUD to address other outstanding compliance requirements. We just got some documentation we needed that we're going to provide to HUD to address some of the other items on the list. So we're in a really good place right now.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, all. Currently, the assessor's office and the law department is working on tax certiorari cases. As I stated many times before, there's really no light at the end of the tunnel pertaining to the tax certiorari cases that's filed against the city. For the month of November, I think we negotiated about 40 cases that's filed against the city of Mount Vernon. Currently, Deputy Johnson is currently working diligently on the small claims cases that was also filed against the city of Mount Vernon for 2019, but it would affect 2020 taxes. For the remainder of the year, the assessor's office now, we're currently reviewing building permits that we started receiving back from the buildings department, from Commissioner Dolman. My office weren't receiving them prior. So we're reviewing those and getting ready to do field work for 2020, hopefully to bring up the city taxable assessed value. That's my main goal going forward, and hopefully we can make that happen. Thank you.
Civil service is rather quiet right now. We finished testing for the rest of this year. We were able to squeak out a few extra police officer candidates through ability testing and things of that nature to hopefully meet the PD's needs to hire for the January academy. Same thing with fire. We're all set and ready to go. All we need is the go-ahead to be able to hire. Other than that, the immediate issue or crisis is not being able to get any of my vouchers paid.
Okay, we'll work on that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you all, good morning. Update on budget. The revised budget has been submitted to yourself. That will be, I guess, presented to the Board of Estimates and Contract meeting at some point.
Right.
You also have the updated letter to support some resolution that goes along with the revised budget. So unless you need me, I'm putting that down and focusing all my energy back on technology. With that said, we did have somewhat of a crisis on Friday. We were made aware from the comptroller's office that they will be moving Munis into the cloud. It has to be done by the end of the year. Has some issues to do with, my understanding, with W-2, 1099 kind of reporting in January. So the old version that we're currently on won't support that. So we're in a kind of scramble at the moment to support Tyler Technologies or the comptroller's office to kind of get them migrated. So please bear with us. That is basically told Joe away full-time for the interim next couple of days until we get that stood up, or at least get them the access they need to get going. In addition, from a Springbrook perspective, for water, URA, IDA, we've started conversations with a vendor called Springbrook. They are the Munis competitor from a financial management perspective. So we're going to take all three groups and hopefully move them off of QuickBooks, if they are on QuickBooks at all, and provide, going into 2020, the financial transparency I think the city and everybody here deserves from a budgetary perspective. Nice part is the water department, which I'm sure will show everybody, upended me on the budget, going back a little bit. So he's got an amazing document, made mine look like garbage, so it's great. So Numbers are solid, just from an aesthetics perspective, he did an absolutely amazing job. So, welcome to that update, Mikey.
Don't let him say it.
So we're good there. Office 365, so we are putting final quotes together to start getting additional licensing that we need to move the rest of the city on. We have about 84, 85 users that are on legacy Office. It is causing a host of issues from an infrastructure point of view, but I'm hoping we can get that started in the next day or two. Other thing to note is, hopefully with a little luck, in the next day or two, we'll get acceptance for a new hire, which will then add back the ranks for Hans moving on in the department. So we've been kind of down almost basically a quarter of our department. So hopefully that'll come online in the next couple of days. I will thank you for that and your team's help. And last but not least, in addition to Google, all the great stuff we're doing with those guys, we've been having conversations with a company called Gartner. So they provide IT advisory services from a global perspective. So they've been giving us good insight as far as kind of what other municipalities are doing. I do have a call with them this afternoon. Main focus there is really around what does closing the digital divide in a city like Mount Vernon mean? If anyone who doesn't know what that term means, it's really creating digital equity for all citizens, right? Rolling out fiber and 5G for everybody, not just what makes sense from a private sector, you know, where the best return on investment is, where it just leaves out a good portion of the city kind of underserved at this point. So hopefully that will kind of bear some fruit going into the year. And Debbie, totally looking forward to that January 3rd run down to Google headquarters in New York City. So they've been really great partners with us. They're doing that. To Debbie's point, we are looking longer term on that, potentially engaging from Mount Vernon to continue, but also then tying into their intern programs, as well as the training aspects, as you mentioned as well. So all good stuff, minus fire bill that happened. Other than that, I'm ready.
All right, thank you.
Greetings, everyone. Mayor, we have finalized the 2020 budget for the water department. And we have, I want to say we've completed or updated the operational data in the department. There's a lot of missing operational data. The team has worked very hard to give us the kind of information that we need in order to make good decisions. The proposed budget that we have for 2020 does include the possibility of an increase in the rate of water. And we are recognizing that there is a lot of, I want to call it waste spending, excessive spending, which actually, as me and Gary work together on really making sure that we rate the budget well, we are proposing a 3% rollback on the rate of water from 3.75 to 3.64%, which will be a benefit to the residents, and it still leaves a little over $1 million in surplus at the end of the year. So as we're moving forward in Discover, we're finding ways to reduce the unnecessary spending of the water department. I think that we've effectively closed the back door, and the team is now becoming more of an accounting department rather than a management department. They're accounting for things, and it's in cycle, which is improving the efficiency of the department. We're very excited about the Springbrook financial management system, and we're looking to be hopefully online by the first quarter, which will cross the digital divide for the water department, which will increase the efficiency of the department, I would think, by 200%. We're still down there on pink and green ledgers, and it's really not the coolest thing in the world. Yeah, but they are quite proficient with it. But the labor time and waste, it doesn't make sense. So, and Gary's been very, very helpful at helping us to figure out how to make that transition. We are also projecting some off-site training for the staff with the new Springbrook once we get to that point. so that we can have an effective rollout on the management. It's a pretty big learning curve there. And I want to make sure that the staff, because they are small, I want to make sure that the staff is well trained in the rollout, so we can't afford any sort of setback in the department in any way. So it's moving forward pretty nicely. Gathering the operational data with regard to physical assets, purchase, ordering, and financial decisions about what should not be paid has been centralized, and I think the proper check and balance systems have been in place, and we'll continue to try to improve them as we go. The physical assets of the department are pretty extensive, so we've been working very hard to make sure that we have a control and a management system on the physical assets. One of the fundamental problems that we're having an accelerated rate of depreciation on physical assets. So we were looking at a building on 3rd Street, 111 East 3rd Street. I've been trying to get into the building now. You'll wish me luck. It's been about four weeks. We haven't been able to get the keys. But I did submit the proposal to your office and also to the city clerk. I'm sure it'll wind up on the tab for the city council at some point or another. Where the guys are working is too small. And we also have property on Bronx River Road, the Spring Ridge property there. It's our main pump. All of our water comes through there. And there was a lack of, I thought, proper security for something so vital to the city. So we've kind of heightened that considerably, making sure that there are 24-hour eyes on the property. We've done some cleanup work there. And we also realized that the self-insured package for those properties are not efficient, so we've gone out to bid for insurance for the water department, because the controller keeps insisting that we need to be a separate entity, which is fine. But insurance is a very, very, very important part. We're responsible for the drinking water of more than 70,000 residents. So we've been trying to heighten the importance of being as efficient as we possibly can, and to do the things that are necessary. Hopefully this 15,000 square foot facility that's owned by the city, we'll be able to take those fixed assets and make sure that we can get them inside and have a better management system. We just started a barcode system for stock, and so that we can keep control of costs in terms of how things are leaving the department. And so we're working really hard in that area. The plant expansion piece is big for us. I think we've got 20 guys down there, and there's some other issues that I need to probably discuss at some time with you and the incoming mayor concerning the board of estimate approval for a particular size. We got 5 guys that are over the board estimate, and it's in our budget. We have to figure out what to do with that, because I just don't see budget lines. I see people's lives and families as well. So that's kind of a big deal for me.
Thank you.
I would just like to follow up with that, with Commissioner Water. I do have an appraisal for that property, actually. I was able to get in, myself and Brian Johnson, we had did an inspection on that property, so I have an appraisal for that. Yes.
I'd love to see it.
Yes, and I'll actually email it to you.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Norton?
So Sylvia has kind of already given you a general kind of update on what's happening over at URA specifically as it pertains to CDBG and where we are with the monies for 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and what we plan to do for 20. So one fire truck is in and 2 other vehicles on their way, right? The comptroller has $1.6 million that was drawn down and is within, I guess, the city's bank accounts for those. We have no indication that that money has been returned. So we can only conclude that we have it in our possession and it should be ready for payment of those vehicles once we got completed all of the prerequisites for it and, the voucher. Again, 17 Capers report has been completed and done and actually posted. 18's draft, final drafting is coming this week, next week.
It's gonna be posted either today or tomorrow.
It's posted today or tomorrow for 18. And so then that would leave, in coming in to the new administration, just 19, which is a good place for us to be. We've not been in quite many years, right, in catching up and all of that. So that's good. As it pertains to the loans, as I'm gonna update you on the loans, that have been so mysteriously talked about and everything else. We've been making some headway with that. We actually have found or located documentation as it pertains to several loans. And now the next step is developing a plan of action to get in communication with those who owe the funds, who owe the funds, as well as also on making sure that whatever compliance issues are associated with those are met, and what's the plan of action, of course, the pathway to ensure that we're able to recoup the monies that are owed and to determine what absolutely has to be written off, because it is just entirely too far out. Also, you should know that there have been several compliance program audits that have occurred. The program audit of CDBG occurred. We actually got our reporting back from her last week, and so we'll share that with, of course, you and Mayor-elect as to where we are. But the bottom line is that our programming audits came out very well. I mean, there are really no citations of things, but there are recommendations of things that need to kind of be done to tighten up stuff that has kind of gone awry over the course of the years. We just completed that with COC, and so we're waiting for that final kind of report to come. And then we'll know exactly what we need to do. But a lot of it is also some of the financial matters of how we manage the finances that are happening around these grants. And most of it is about capacity. And so we know that we need to have additional kind of staffing to be able, and competent staffing to be able to do that from the standpoint of finance and compliance, right? Speaking of that, URA audit is underway. We've been working with Hannah Davies, and they've been requesting tons of documentation and stuff at the go. So right now, that is in progress for 16, 17, and 18 for that to be completed. And I'm sure that they're communicating with the Comptroller's office about their status on that. But we deem that 16 will be a little rocky, and there'll be some major challenges there. 17 and 18 should be a little bit more smoother, but we don't anticipate any major problems with the audit. From a position needs assessment, planning department, URA, the area upstairs needs definitely the new some additional planners, which we know that there were 2 that were put in the 19 budget, were never really fully executed, but those need to remain in for 2020's budget, because you've got one person up there that right now is just stretched wide, overwhelmed, and trying to do the very best that he can to get stuff out and work with the land use boards in order to make sure the right approvals and documentation is done, but it's hard to do that. A grants writer, a grants compliance officer is absolutely needed. As you can see, that the department is working with several different, our department is working with several other departments and entities in order to identify grants, apply for grants, follow up on grants, ensure that there's compliance of grants, and file all the necessary paperwork. We've got one planning administrator to do that for the entire city. And that's just unheard of. So we made sure that that happens. Again, I talked about the accounting need for additional accountants there, and a general compliance officer, because we can do away with some of our consultant fees and all that. We had to bring this stuff kind of in-house. And so, you've already heard about the fire trucks grants. You need to know, here's what we have. The sewer MS4 grant paperwork, all has been done and submitted, and DEC has it. It's now, we're waiting on DEC just to give us kind of the thumbs up, or that they need something additional. But we've gotten no communication from them in the last few days about it, which they say is a good thing, which means that they're processing. We also have submitted and applied for the urban and forestry grant, for tree planting for DEC, so that has been submitted. The records keeping grant, New York State records keeping grant, we are now beginning the process with that. And that we're working, of course, with the assessor's office, the management services, and the veterans. We also pulled in the city clerk, because he's the record keeper, to make sure he's involved, so we don't hear that we stepped out of line and did something when we didn't have a business doing. We've also completed the grant for the Office of the Aging for information and assistance. We submitted that last week, so that's in. City Rise grant, of course, we got the information back, $330,000 for that. We asked for $900,000 and some odd thousand, but we got $360,000. It will also help us to at least hire some innovative director for to run that program, to ensure the coding stuff is happening, and also a code enforcement officer for evening and weekends, outside of what already being asked for in the other departments. So that will help us to kind of move that forward. We are following up from a compliance standpoint on the Homeland Security grant with the fire station on Oak Street, $10,000 to make sure that we submit all the necessary paperwork. We're waiting on the comptroller to provide us with the documentation for that so we can submit that. We've also had conversation to ensure that we get an extension on our Mount Vernon East BOA grant because it was expired and basically they've extended it a few times. And so I sent a letter requesting that they give us another extension because we don't want to lose that money. So we're waiting to hear back from them. Land use boards have completed their training. And I think I may have covered everything, because still we covered half the other stuff. We not for that? So, the long and short of it is, the planning department is moving. We have corrected some things that need to be corrected, but for sure, there's a major resource issue in the planning department that is going to need to be addressed.
Sylvia.
Good afternoon, all. So the recreation department has a lot going on per usual. First of all, thank you to everyone who helped us to feed the seniors and the community on Thanksgiving in the Dole Center, and then even drove around to feed the seniors in their individual homes. That's appreciated by me, and I'm sure by those that were recipients of it all. We have in terms of our different drives, we have our coat drives. Thank you for those who contributed. The coats will be distributed this month. Also, we want to do the same for soup drives so that we kick off the year and give people a fresh start. So if you are a woman and you have a proper work attire, if you'd like to donate some of that, preferably dry clean, so that we can give people a fresh start coming into 2020. That's another initiative that we are starting. Then in addition to that, we have our Kwanzaa coming up, which is at the Dole Center on the 26th from 4 to 7. You also have your Winter Wonderland. I invite you all to attend. It's going to be fabulous. You have free ice skating at that time from 1 to 3:30, in addition to all of the events that will be taking place at the Wonderland, which will also include vendors to give small businesses an opportunity to benefit from the holiday season as well. Then we have, we have our winter activities for our children, which include soccer, ice skating, and boxing. Also movies, all of which is free of charge, and that's just something to keep them entertained and safe during the holiday break, which is actually 2 weeks this year. Recreation is going through a lot, as I'm sure every department is, but recreation has the Kronos system, has forced recreation to do a lot of cleanup, reorganization and restructuring, has forced recreation to take a hard look at itself in terms of our staffing, who needs to move, who needs to potentially go home, based on what we see is needed now that Kronos has forced us to take a hard look at ourselves, and be a little more fiscally responsible in terms of what we do with our time. The seniors have their luncheon on the 17th, so if you want to come out and celebrate with our children in reverse, that's always encouraged. So again, we have a lot going on. Also, the Friends of Recreation, lending a hand to the future. Hey, friends. We are going to also adopt some of the children from the school district. As you know, there are 900 of them. For the past 5 years of my life, I have partnered or made Lending a Hand to the Future do it. And since I came to work for the city, the Friends has done the same. So if any of you are interested, we will get the list tomorrow. And then we just go ahead and purchase the gifts for the children, all of which have to be given to them prior to their leaving for the break. So if you're interested, you know where to find me. That's pretty much what's going on in recreation for the end of the year.
And so there's actually two things which are actually crossing, I guess, at this moment. So we mentioned the renovations that's happening in several of the playgrounds. We are at basic final contract space, the contract position now, in which we are finalizing the contract for that to make sure that the money stays intact for it, which includes renovation of several playgrounds, also the installation of a water play kind of area at Bush Park, part of that as well, and also some work that's going to also happen at Hartley Park, which is the fitness court. So the fitness court, the equipment and stuff we already have, it's already here. The issue now is we've got to put the concrete slab down, and we've also got to install the tile surface and then put the equipment in. That's scheduled to be installed in the early spring in parts at Hartley Park.
Good afternoon. I'm gonna say, most important thing is I lose my right hand this Thursday. You know, the ugly sweater competition is near and dear to her heart. And so just if you have some final words on goodbye and the weight, sex, height, baby information, please drop by and make sure you wish her well, because this will be her last time in the office. A lot of transitional issues coming, so you probably will see a lot of different emails directed either at you specifically, but there are some round linked items that you may have seen from the controller's office or from Elton or from payroll, and the org chart information that general counsel, corporate counsel, and I desperately need so that we can sit down and have a conversation with Madam Controller, just to kind of help in understanding the human capital that we have in the building, and who's actually showing up to work, aligned with Kronos and some of the cleanup that's going on, making sure that the cheeks are in the seat, so the people that are getting paid are the people that are definitely in the building. And that if there is any additional training that is required for that system, that we can identify that and get that done. And quite frankly, a policy statement, so that people are aware that we do use it. It's been an issue, of course, with most of our union shops around using it, and then it's been an issue with, of course, at our level, the commissioner level, that's in the chart that said we did not have to do it. So again, we know that those issues are on the table. We are trying to get some resolution before the end of the year. And then the only other thing that we need to talk about is going to do a gala at some point, the 20th, the save the date has gone out for staff. So people can celebrate before they go off for the holiday, their specific holiday weekends, and enjoy themselves before the end of the year, just to, again, thank people for all the hard work and for the Just what as I've said through many of these meetings, kind of the re-emphasis of the transition, which is kind of spearheaded some post-traumatic stress because of the former administration and the way things used to be. And so it's calmed down tremendously. I think what's been great is that we have had these sessions and we've identified, we've brought in counselors and they have a presence in the HR office. So I don't feel as though it is as heightened as it used to be, but there are still a lot of issues. And still, I can say since I've been here, a mitigation of what were a lot of the employee relations claims, and then the re-up for another round of the sexual and unlawful harassment training is coming up as we hit the first of the year for those that weren't able to attend the mandatory sessions earlier. That's it for me.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. So as to the law department, the Corporation Council would like me to inform you that there was a recent court action that was filed concerning a reported holiday in employee pay. It's unprecedented that the Corporation Council herself handled this matter concerning employee litigation without the full cost of outside counsel. So the comptroller and the city have come to an agreement, and the Corporation Council is in court this morning on that matter.
Buildings.
Usually this is our slow time, but it seems to be an increase, especially in permits. Our total month for in October, we took in like 91,000. In November, we took in over 133. It's still going. I think everybody's trying to get a lot done before the end of the year. The main thing that I did want to bring up was that agency called SOTA, S-O-T-A, from Mayor de Blasio with
By the way,
homeless people in bringing here.
by the way, just so you know, I got a call from de Blasio's office on Thursday,
Okay.
and I believe Friday, complaining to me about complaining about it, and said that people can live where they want, and I told them verbatim,
I saw
good,
that.
I will start to throw people into New York, just wait and see.
Okay, so
We got
thus far, this is
back
what
and forth
happened.
with me and de Blasio right now.
So now on Thursday, what's going on, I don't have a problem with them bringing them here, but we do no inspections. They're putting them in zombie homes, basically.
Right.
On Thursday, we had to shut down 526 Locust, which is a zombie home. So with 7 people that we had to drive physically over to social service to get them relocated, it's unfit for human habitation. The roof is falling, the ceilings are leaking, they have no heat, they have absolutely nothing.
Right.
So we had to close that down on Thursday. Then Friday afternoon, we get a call from the fire department about electrical fire, which is at 21 South 8th on a fire on the, it was on the poles. Con Ed came out and fixed it, but when we got into the building, they have illegal hookup for the hot water, electricity, everybody's using space, the building is in deplorable condition again. And these people also are on soda from New York City, so that didn't happen till like late in the afternoon, so they have no electricity, they have no hot water and no heat. But we opted to leave them in there because you can't take anybody to social service at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they're not gonna help anybody. So this morning, we're doing that now, we're gonna close that out building, so we're 7 on Thursday, I'm not sure of the count today, but they all have been paid for a year in advance from Mayor de Blasio, so I do know that Newark is suing the city. So I think we need to investigate our options. I'm sure it's gonna keep going on and on and on. And they're putting them all in zombie homes and we don't even know about it.
Can I ask a curious question?
Yes.
So, from Soda, how do they get into a zombie home? Who are they paying?
The landlord.
Oh, the landlord.
Yes, and my problem is they should be coming to the municipality asking us to inspect these places first. Before anybody can move anywhere, you're supposed to get a vacancy inspection. These places would never pass, and they're putting people in places that should never be occupied to begin with. And paying the rent, so the owner's not doing anything. You can care less.
See, the problem is this, because I've been fighting this for about 2 years now, arguing back and forth. It just escalated.
No, it's
the whole
escalating.
with the back and forth with New York City now that I got into mayor seat. They keep on continuously doing this. They get a block of money, each up to about $40,000. What slumlord is gonna turn down $40,000? So what they do is they reach out to those slumlords. Not only that, the woman on 3rd Street, I can't remember her name, who likes to bring in all of the sex offenders into Mount Vernon, because right now we have the most sex offenders in the state of New York per capita, here living in Mount Vernon. And some of them that are here, well, a lot of them that are here are on the SOTA program. And I visit that lady also, and she was saying, well, people have a right to live. So I told her, okay, well, I'm gonna move them right over to Scarsdale where you live. Okay, so it's a big fight going back and forth, and we need to make sure that they get the message. Because I know some people may live in Scarsdale, but hey, you ain't gonna dump everybody here, and that's gotta be, I know you do. But you know what? I have a sex offender that lives 3 doors over from me now, okay? And this is a problem, especially when I have children and everybody else here may have children as well. We are not gonna dump everybody here. This is a very big problem. And yes, we already are working on a lawsuit against New York City as well. And they know that because I told them that. And I don't care. You are not gonna do that because it's a big problem. And going around, not only the building department, they're not even telling social service in other places. They're not telling anybody. They're not telling the police department, because when I had Alex and some of the people look up someone from the SOTA program, this was a sex offender that came out of prison. They dumped him over here, moved him over here from Brooklyn. He subleased it to another criminal and then moved back to Brooklyn, and we found out that he was back in jail as soon as we started looking for him because he groped some woman on the train. So this is what's going on. They're not alerting the police, they're doing it undercover, dumping everybody here, so we have to be very, very conscious of what's going on. And Kendra, we will talk about that after this because I need to document that.
You have some of the leases too.
Yeah, put that into the lawsuit,
Yeah.
okay, against them, and to send them back whence they have come from,
Okay.
period.
Well, we'll be evicting some more today, actually, from 21 South 8.
Yes, and my conversation with New York City before was, we already have a problem with our homeless population. Let us work on what we have here. We gotta deal with our family first before we can go out and start bringing in the cousins and the out of town people. So this is a big problem, so we have to address that, and I'm gonna add that in because my filing is probably gonna be this week anyway, against New York City, and then I'll give you all the paperwork.
So,
Well, she's gonna take it off, she'll handle this, but we're gonna make sure that we're in good standards and we'll take care of that, and I'll brief you on everything that's happening. And, transition, Steve, I see you over there, good morning. So I'll make sure you guys are up to speed on this stuff, because this is very serious. And as you can see what Kendra's saying, now we have 7 people or 7 families, we gotta find something.
That's just on one property.
And we don't know what we're gonna do with them, but we gotta take care of them with the resources.
So Mayor, before we start with the lawsuit, have we sat down with New York City and had a conversation with New York City? And the only reason I ask that is because we've been asking New York City for shared services, and we've been successful.
Yes, but I'm not asking for those kind of shared services.
But I understand that. I'm just saying that before we go to the court system, let's pull de Blasio's team in and have a meeting with them, and they are ready to meet. So let's have that meeting first.
Okay, well, we are gonna have that meeting first, because I told them that I would call them today, because I didn't wanna deal with them Friday, and we will have that discussion. But the discussion is straightforward. You cannot dump people here, period. I don't care what kind of services or shared services you're doing with us. That does not give you permission to do what you're doing and damage our community in this way. Because like I said, now we have to deal with families that we have here that we gotta figure out what to do with, that have no place to go because they've stuck them in slumlord places. And now it's our problem. They spent $80 million to relocate these families, okay? Then they could spend another $80 million giving us some money for the services to take care of these people now. All right, so we'll figure that out, but we'll have that conversation in a little while. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get all
Okay,
stirred
also,
up. Sorry about that.
Only
Commissioner,
other thing I wanted to add, right now, we're moving forward to increasing our fees. They haven't been increased since 2010, which is unheard of, and we're way, way below. So we're looking to increase it at least maybe 20 to 25%, which will bring us in anywhere from 200 to 250,000 additional income coming in. That's it. You should have those figures soon.
You should tie in with
With
Commissioner
him.
Daly's.
Yeah,
He's
he's
all
gonna do
over
his
here to
too.
get his fees updated as well.
Yeah, ours is it's ridiculous.
so update them and let's get them going,
Yeah.
so we can get it to the
That's
council.
the council, yes.
All right?
We're working on that. Should be done by this week.
Mayor, I'm sorry. One of the things I forgot to talk about was the US Census. So, as you know, we did organize a Mount Vernon government complete count committee. There's several complete count committees that are in Mount Vernon. The goal was to have this committee organized and structured so that it serves, I guess, almost as an umbrella committee, where, of course, the mayor and the elected officials and all of them have at least some connection to what is happening for the complete count. We've had a series of meetings. I think last meetings were last week. We've had a few trainings. Actually, we've got about 42 volunteers in the community that have participated in the trainings. We're also participating in the complete count committee for the county. So we're making sure we're staying connected to that. From the standpoint of resources, we have submitted to the Commissioner of Management Services for $100,000 request for the complete count committee work. And here's the reality. If we want to make sure that Mount Vernon has a complete count, we're gonna have to put some skin in the game. We can't count on nobody else to help us to be able to do it. So I'm hoping that in this process of the budget, we have to make sure that it stays. So that's what I just wanted to kind of give you that big.
Oh, and on that note as well, we're having a training on Thursday with the US Census, but the building department is also involved in that, where they need our data for the not necessarily complaints, but what is it, the permits that are being issued. Myself and Marlon, they're coming down to train the whole building department here on that for the census.
Great, so you know what? Count all those people first, then we'll send them back. Remember that. Thank you, Teddy.
Fire department received one of the 3 new fire engines. Our rescue company should be here between Wednesday and Friday, depending on the weather coming out of Wisconsin. They drive them here, they don't flat them to make sure the motors are okay. And just in time too, because our present rescue group's motor has got a national year, and we've got $20,000 worth of work that's ready to do as we speak. Besides that, as you heard around the table, we were working with URA, the planning department, pretty heavy, Gary with the budget, the building department, and also with the DPW for some kind of building repairs on, firehouses are in bad shape. Nothing new, we just gotta get it fixed. Damani and Mark were on the phone Friday night between 7:30 and 10 o'clock quite extensively, trying to get things done. And hopefully they pull some magic, because we really need it, we're really hurting bad as we're over all this stuff. Otherwise, we're trying to clean up, the end of the year like we always do, trying to go into next year with a good look. No bills, or at least all the bills stick to the controller's office for payment. And we have the problems, also it's a challenge, get over how to run it, and so forth, we're doing okay. Otherwise, the status quo.
Are we service? Good afternoon, everybody. The Office of Emergency Management is currently working to augment our efforts to help the community for ASD, for children who are on the spectrum, or maybe even adults who are on the spectrum. We put together our sensory bags with conjunction with Commissioner Bill The sensory bags are a bag set up of a bunch of tactile toys for people who are on the spectrum in order for coping and calming mechanisms. Whenever in a high stress situation, whenever a first responder show up on the scene, when you have an ambulance or a fire truck show up, sirens and the lights blaring, it can be really stressful for somebody who's on the spectrum. So the reason for the sensory bags are for the first responders like the ambulance, Empress, EMT, to be able to show up with the bags to be able to give to the children and or adults who face this disorder, should we say. Also, we're working with the Westchester County Office of Emergency Management in order to bring the trailer up. Well, we're not going to bring the trailer up. I spoke to Damani. There's a vent that's broke on top of the trailer. They ordered the part for us, so I'm going to go up and get the part from the Westchester County Office of Emergency Management while restocking the inventory, and then bring it back down. I'll bring the part up to the garage, and DPW will be able to fix the vent on top of the garage, on top of the trailer, because a lot of water was leaking in for all of the emergency shelter equipment as well. Also, we spoke with Commissioner Bill and myself. We had a meeting with the Department of Social Services and Westchester County Office of Emergency Management in regards to the heating centers and being able to augment that and make it better for Mount Vernon. We understand that there's a liability when you're helping someone, so we don't want to be able to put somebody who's on the street right now in a cold blue weather advisory into an officer's car, unless to say, God forbid, the roads are slippery or something like that, and they crash. We don't understand that can be a liability to the city, so we're trying to find out ways that the county can be able to help us and augment our ways to be able to help the homeless community when it comes to dealing with the weather cold blue advisories. And that's all right now that we're working on.
Those over to the mayor-elect. This way you have she'll have an update, and her staff will have an update on what's going on so they can see it. So this monthly report that you're handing in, I pretty much know most of the monthly report will be handed over to the new administration so they can get a head start on what's going on as well. So they're up to date. So if there's anything you would like to say or address the commissioners at this time, or?
Well, I've actually had an opportunity to meet with most of the commissioners and the directors in the room. I still have to meet with our Veterans Administration, our parking collections, as well as civil service. So I think that's it. I will be reaching out to you today to set up those meetings, hopefully before the week is out, so that we can prepare to move forward. We have announced our transition team. We have Stephen Horton here, who is the director of the transition team. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Horton, 16 years as a city councilman here, which gave him great experience 4 times as the city council president. Meaning he's also very familiar with the Board of Estimate and budgeting process and the internal operations here in City Hall. 25 years of experience as the executive director for the Municipal Housing Authority. And he continues to do work in and around Mount Vernon, lifelong resident, very active in not only our government, but our civic life here in Mount Vernon. We do have our chairs of our transition team in place, and we will be launching our transition website tomorrow. So the transition website will have information for people who are interested in applying for positions with the administration as they go forward, that they can submit those not applications, but resumes, cover letters up on the portal. That's for everyone, you know, in the community. We haven't posted positions, there are positions that are posted, but for anyone who's interested in working in the new administration, as you hear people in the community asking questions, you could just direct them to that. They'll have information on the inauguration. The swearing in, the public swearing in will take place on January 4th at Nellie Thornton High School here in Mount Vernon. Doors opening at 11:30. The ceremony beginning at 1 p.m. The inaugural ball is scheduled for February 1st. What else we have? I just actually came from the county. So, when the meeting was moved, I already was scheduled to be up in the county with the Board of Legislators today, because today they voted for and approved $25 million for Memorial Field, and that is those are conversations that I and Lyndon and the county executive and deputy county executive and many of the legislators have been having.
over the past few months as we've met officially, unofficially, to really discuss the needs of Memorial Field to push that forward, and so I felt that was worth being a little late. So I apologize. I just wanted to make sure that we were there for that historic vote and to say thank you and make sure that everything went through. Clearly there's a lot happening, and the next few weeks, lots of transition. We are not looking to disrupt City Hall in any major way. Like I said, I think the meetings that I've had thus far have been informative. They've been done in a respectful way, and I appreciate you for taking out your time. I've asked for some documents. There are still a few things that are outstanding, and I'll follow up with individuals around that because that just helps inform us as we move forward. Our transition team chairs include, we have different buckets for areas of expertise just to make it easier. DPW and infrastructure is former DPW Commissioner James Finch. For education and workforce development, we have Brenda Smith. I call her Ambassador Brenda Smith. That's just my personal way that I reference her. For economic development, we have Marsha Gordon, who is the President and CEO and Director of the Business Council of Westchester. We have for public safety, is retired Police Commissioner Charles Gardner. And for finance and government operations, we have our county legislator, Lyndon Williams. And health and human services, we have one of our community partners here in Mount Vernon and lifelong resident, Henry Wilson. Those are just the chairs, but these committees are definitely very well built out, which include not only subject matter experts, but they include community residents, businesses, partners, faith-based community, all of the different sectors that are represented on this. If you have any recommendations or any concerns, definitely reach out to Steve and myself. The transition team is not yet a closed body. Like I said, we announced the chairs, but this transition team will help us in a way that's inward-facing as well as outward-facing, helping us to transition in the community, into City Hall, but also making sure that we have an outward-facing team that continues to collect the information that's needed that will help inform us in developing the critical strategic plan that we're going to need to definitely operate our city and make sure that we are doing it in partnership with our residents as they're the ones who elected us. We might have good ideas, but I believe the expertise of our community is worth hearing, and to that end, definitely in the first 90 days, we will be doing what we call community town halls or people's assemblies to hear from the community and the business community and all of the different stakeholders on some of the things that are most concerning to them that they'd like to see and opportunities to volunteer. And that will also be part of the transition website for people who are not looking for employment but who are looking for volunteer opportunities and want to be involved in different ways. We're asking them to submit their information, and as well as people who just want to be on the mailing list, there'll be an area for people to put their information so that they can get updates and community updates going forward. So I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to meet with the commissioners, and I look forward to being in touch with you often over the next few weeks. And please feel free to reach out to us. This is a two-way communication, and we want people to feel at ease regarding this this transition. Trust me, I've been part of the City Hall family. I understand, recognize, and have experienced the PTSD that many people here have been experiencing, and we do not look to add to any of that angst, but to have a professional and respectful transition, and where we're communicating, but not looking to do all of that communication online and in public, but to look to have those private conversations so that we can move forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, this meeting is now adjourned.